trade reports are escalating around the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. You want to trade with the Penguins? You want to trade with the Penguins? You want to trade with the Penguins? Well, Kyle Dubas wants to do business with you. He already said the entire team is available, including really valuable pieces such as Rickard Rakell. On this video, we're going to break down suitors for Rickard Rakell and what type of value could the Penguins be getting back for a player at his peak value right now. Dubas is looking farther into the future for this Penguins team, understanding Rickard Rakell is 31 years old. He's playing like an all-star on the Penguins top line, and the time might be now to deal him, considering multiple teams are calling on his behalf. And why? On this episode of Penguins Digest. First, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Most of you have not yet subscribed to the channel, but a lot of you have, and I greatly appreciate it. We have surpassed 350 subscribers since my last video, so let's continue to up the ante on that and get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I appreciate all the support from you guys, and let's continue to pile that in as this season progresses and as the trade buzz heats up. I am telling you, daily videos will be released on this channel just talking about trades, updates, anything you need to know about your Pittsburgh Penguins. And today, that's why we have to dig into Rickard Rakell and his trade value as it stands right now. I want to show you guys a graphic first that was an article I read earlier today pertaining to Kyle Dubas's remarks about everybody being available. More trades, major trades are incoming as the Penguins are ready to completely reshape this roster. And that's the part I want to direct your attention to. The rest is stuff that we kind of already knew. But the part that I was surprised by is completely reshaping this roster. Now, I understood that Kyle Dubas wanted to make some deals. I understood he wanted to kind of do a 180. But a 360, now that's a completely different thing. There are not many guys on this roster that are safe as it is. But after reading that report, I'm understanding that more guys are probably going to be traded than not, and that he is looking to completely turn this roster on its axis, which is not to the extent that I had originally thought, which is why we have to break down even more trades regarding players that we don't want to get rid of, but that we have to maximize value of. And that includes Rickard Rakell, who is playing like an all-star all season long. Penguins insider Josh Yeo said that the Penguins could trade Rickard now, but it is more likely they trade him during the offseason in the summer. Now, the reason for that is because he has multiple years left on his contract, so people are suggesting that it's better off for them to wait to trade him because they are still trying to make the playoffs right now. As you saw on the graphic right before this, they're 5 points out of a playoff spot, as bad as they've been lately. So that's what the situation is right now with Rickard Rakell. I do believe the Penguins will trade him. It's just a matter of when. And Josh Yeo obviously said it makes more sense for them to trade him during the summer. That's not guaranteed, though. Early Rickard Rakell landing spots before the 2025 NHL trade deadline. This is an article that was produced a little bit ago, but it's still very relevant right now. Rickard Rakell is a guy that is circulating around the trade rumors across the National Hockey League. 3 or 4, maybe even 5 at this point, teams have made calls to the Penguins about Rickard Rakell's availability because he is probably their most talented player that is not a no-trade clause type player. So Dubas already said he's not trading guys that have no trade clause or no movement clauses in their contract. Rickard Rakell has no restrictions, so he would be a guy that could be moved at any given time to any given team. He would rather be on a contender with a chance to possibly compete for a Stanley Cup, something the Penguins are not necessarily ready for, but the Devils of New Jersey might be. They could be a suitor for Rickard Rakell, a team that has a stacked top 6 featuring centers like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, wingers like Jesper Bratt, Timo Meier. This is a team that could really benefit from a guy like Rickard Rakell. He's a top 6 forward. They already get most of their offensive production from the top 6. I think Rickard Rakell will be a decent fit in New Jersey. And the fact that the Devils are listed as an actual shooter for Rakell, if you really dig deep and try to figure out why, it makes a lot of sense. These are teams that have a very stacked top of their lineup and not enough depth scoring. Well, if you add another winger like Rickard Rakell, that means a guy that's on your top 2 lines right now moves down to the 3rd, maybe even the 4th line, and then you're creating that depth scoring, like the Andre Palats of the world, and even back in his days in Tampa Bay when he was a clutch scorer come playoff time. So Rakell is an extremely valuable piece to teams like the Devils, as well as a team like the Senators, another team that suffers from a top-heavy lineup, a team that really needs a scoring winger. Rickard Rakell on pace to get somewhere between 35 and 40 goals this season. This is a guy that could pair up with Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson. He could pair up with Josh Norris. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Brady Tkachuk. This Senators team has a loaded top six, and a guy like Rakell is fitting the bill of what they really want on that roster. These are teams that pride themselves on stacking two lines like they're all-star teams and then having the rest of their lineup just kind of be even. And that's really all you need from them, is just to be even players, beat on the ice for the same amount of goals for as goals against, and you let your top guys just go to work, especially on the power play. That's where you gain that advantage. Teams like the Senators and the Devils that have really good power plays, Rickard Rakell and his laser shot, he would fit very nicely on both of those teams. So those are realistic scenarios. There would obviously have to be a couple of, money moves back and forth in order for a trade like that to work with teams that are pressed up against the salary cap. But the Penguins are not afraid to make a big splash, and Kyle Dubas, in order to get the assets that he wants, prospects and draft picks to replenish this pool of players and maybe speed up this process of rebuilding that the Penguins are inevitably going to have to go through in the near future. So that's where we're standing right now with Rickard Rakell. That's the buzz since January 1st. The Senators and the Devils have emerged as two of the top trade destinations. What he's been able to do this season for Pittsburgh. He's played in 46 games, 22 goals, 16 assists, 38 points, 117 shots on goal. It's a guy not afraid to put the puck on net. And he's a -12, but his expected plus minus is plus. So it's kind of crazy when you look at it that way. The advanced metrics really like Rickard Rakell and think that he actually should have better numbers than he does. Why is he being talked about in trade talks? It's because there's a really good reason why teams would want to have this guy on their roster. You can look down this bullet point list. He only makes $5 million a year. He's got 2 more seasons after this year of team control, which makes him even more valuable than Marcus Pettersson, who we're looking at trade away, future unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Whereas Rakell, you have a little bit more team control, a little bit more flexibility to keep him around, especially at the $5 million cap hit. And then, like I already talked about, Dubas being eager to add draft picks and prospects, Rakell would absolutely land them a haul of prospects and picks because of how good he is. He doesn't have a no-trade clause. So Dubas at least has to consider the possibility of trading Rakell because of the flexibility that he gives them with this roster and teams that would be willing to move for him because of his, team-friendly cap hit and his just production at this point in the essentially prime of his career. Let's talk about this daunting road trip that's coming up for the Penguins. It begins tonight. It's going to be a rough stretch of games for Pittsburgh. They have struggled since December 31st. They've won 1 game. It has not been a fun 3 weeks to be a Penguins fan. This team has had a monumental collapse on top of the struggle that they had to start the season. They started to turn it around, and then this has been one of the worst stretches that we have ever seen in quite some time for the Pens. So it's been really rough to watch this team lately, but we got to stay confident, and we have to continue to just support them and hope that they can turn it around on this ridiculous road trip that they're about to embark on. They're going to be going on a season-long 7-game road trip spanning a total of 15 days, playing against Buffalo, Washington, Los Angeles, Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose, and Utah. It's the longest road trip since an 8-game road swing nearly 30 years ago in 1997. And the fact that it's happening at this exact moment in time is almost a worst case scenario. They actually succeed on this road trip. I'm saying even if they have a winning record on this road trip, it could turn their entire season around. You're not often presented an opportunity like this where it's so difficult. It's such a treacherous journey that if you actually have some success, the confidence that you can build from that is absolutely insane. So I think of this more as an opportunity than anything else, to seize this opportunity and just help turn their season around, because it's going to be too late before you know it. And right now we're still in mid-January. We have 3 months left in the regular season. This is going to be the hardest stretch for them all year. So if this can be a stretch where they play some of their best hockey it can really encourage them to turn things around as this season progresses. And we look at the schedule, this daunting schedule that sits in front of them. For the rest of the month, they will not be home. The rest of the month is road game after road game, including a back-to-back starting tonight against the Buffalo Sabres and then the Washington Capitals tomorrow. Then you have to play the LA Kings. You're switching time zones. You're playing against the Anaheim Ducks, the Kraken, the San Jose Sharks, and then the Utah Hockey Club, staying in hotel rooms for over 2 weeks. And they're not going to get a good night's sleep probably for a while. They have to be away from their families. You know, it's a little bit discouraging, especially in the rut that they are in. As we look at the breakdown of tonight's matchup against the Buffalo Sabres, Penguins are actually underdogs against a team that has a worse record than them, believe it or not. But it's because we don't know a lot of things about this team right now. Tristan Jarry was waived. Alex Nedeljkovic is looking to be the starting goalie. He is the projected and actually confirmed starter for the game tonight. Penguins still lead the NHL in goals against per game, which is not a stat you want to lead the league in. And then Buffalo, they're not afraid to score goals. They got some really deadly scorers on this team, including one of the best snipers in the league, for my money, Tage Thompson. There was at one point where Tage Thompson was scoring, 50 goals in a season. He scored 47 goals in the 2022-23 season. He's their leading goal scorer again this year. Jason Zucker, our old friend, is having a great year for them. Alex Tuch, JJ Peterka, and then they got Rasmus Dahlin and Bowen Byram, some really good defensemen as well. And their goaltender, we originally thought Devin Levi was going to take over and be that guy for the Sabres, but Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has taken that job. The 25-year-old from Finland has been fantastic this year, which is why they have not allowed nearly as many goals as Tristan Jarry and the Penguins, but they're still bottom 5, bottom 6 in the NHL. So let's look at special teams as well while we're on this graphic. The Penguins' power play has been kind of their bread and butter up until lately, where they've really struggled. They actually went through a really good stretch on the penalty kill as well, but their penalty kill has been allowing way too many goals lately too. So you look at the Sabres, their penalty kill and power play are either mid or really bad. They have a mid penalty kill and a really bad power play. So the Penguins can take advantage of that tonight, especially building confidence moving forward. We keep mentioning confidence. We keep mentioning, how do you get yourself out of a rut of this magnitude? And it really comes down to confidence. If the players are out there and they have confidence that they have a chance to win every single day on any given night, they're going to be playing their heart out, right? They're going to be playing hard. They're going to be giving 110% effort. They're going to be forechecking. They're going to be battling for loose pucks. They're going to be putting bodies on bodies and just stacking up, shots on goal. Everything that you could think of, getting to the front of the net, like all the important aspects of the game come together when you're playing with confidence. The Penguins just have lacked that lately. So it's time to get that confidence back. It's time to build some kind of momentum on this road trip that you can use to fuel the rest of your season, because it's really coming down to the nitty gritty here, guys. This wild card race is going to be nuts, and the Penguins are 5 points out right now. Bottom line is, the Penguins are on a 3-game losing streak. They've won 1 game since December 31st. Buffalo has a 9-11-3 record at home, 17-22-5 overall. The Sabres actually have a -13 scoring differential this season. The Penguins -33. The matchup Friday will be the second time these teams meet this season. The Penguins won 6-5 in overtime in the previous meeting. So Penguins are 1-0 against the Sabres this season. It did go to extra time, and the Penguins have had a lot of extra time games here in the new year, 3 in a row at one point, and we're hoping that they can turn the tide against the Buffalo Sabres, a team that they've had pretty good success against historically. So any night's as good as tonight. Let's go out there and get a victory on the road against Buffalo. We're not that far from home. We'll be on the West Coast before you know it, so take advantage of still being on the Eastern time zone, still being relatively close to Pittsburgh, and get a win. Just get a win. That's really what it comes down to. The bottom line, my bottom line is you just need a win. You need something, because it's not been fun to watch Penguins hockey lately, guys. I'll be completely honest with you. This team is reeling. One of the worst stretches I've seen. They're just not, they're getting leads and then they're blowing them. Even think back to the Kraken game. I mean, that was a game I thought we could win. Outshot them 16-2 in the first period. I mean, we were dominating the game, and then just a collapse in the third period, and that's been a theme. So it's time to play all 3 periods tonight, and that's what it's going to take to beat Ilukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Hard to say his name sometimes, the Finnish guy, and the Buffalo Sabres. That's really what it comes down to. You got to play 3 periods. You can't give up after 2. You can't put it on cruise control. You got to hit the gas all the way to the finish line. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow after this game, leading up into the next game against Washington, the first place team in the Metropolitan Division. But I do appreciate you guys watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll keep you up to date on the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, content, rumors, analysis, everything relating to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next episode of Penguins Digest.